talk through a number of the issues that need to be managed in relation to the rollout of SuperStream. So let's look at the issues that we're going to cover. First of all, what is SuperStream? Who's affected? What does SuperStream mean for you? And how can we help you meet your obligations? SuperStream, what is it? Well, in a situation where we've got an employer having to provide both payments and contribution data to one super fund, the equation is relatively simple. There's not a lot of complexity. But there are lots of employers out there and lots of super funds. Once you start adding them into the equation, it increases a little bit in complexity, but still eminently manageable. Once you introduce member choice and each employee can choose their own super fund, the situation changes substantially. With each super fund having their own protocols, having their own formats, their payment methods, it's a bit of a maze that needs to be managed. SuperStream is intended to try and eliminate the complexity and the cost and the inefficiency associated with that. So let's look at the current system. We're, at the moment, with employers having to fulfill their super obligations, Aussiepay can handle all of the issues associated with superannuation administration and fulfilment. In doing so, we have to have different formats, different payment methods, different protocols. There's a lot of complexity that needs to be managed. We've got it covered. However, for the economy as a whole, it's a relatively inefficient process. The current system is very paper-based. We've had situations where, despite the fact that our systems are geared towards electronic interface, a lot of super funds just can't receive anything else but checks and reports. Even where they're electronic, they're different formats and they're sometimes a little bit awkward in terms of their requirements. Each super fund has got their own requirements, different formats, different protocols, etc. Many reconciliations issues exist. We've got situations where checks are received attached to reports for employee contributions, but the amount on the check and the amount on the totaling on the report are different. So that adds to the cost of the system, it adds to the time delays in employees having funds recorded against their account. Very inefficient. And the current system is generally pretty slow and pretty expensive. SuperStream attempts to address that. So what is SuperStream? SuperStream is a new format or protocol for paying and fulfilling employees' superannuation contributions. It starts on the 1st of July, and SuperStream will make superannuation administration in this country much more efficient. It's actually estimated to save over $1 billion annually, so it's a pretty good microeconomic reform. SuperStream is completely electronic for both contributions and payments. It's actually not possible to send reports via envelopes with checks. If it doesn't go according to the superannuation or SuperStream format, then it's considered to be a compliance issue. And finally, all contributions are sent in the same format. So the current system where each super fund has their own information requirements, their own format, different obligations and different requirements, that is completely eliminated. All super funds will receive information in the same format, and over time they should be able to have through processing so as they eliminate the cost of importing that into their superannuation administration system. So what are the components of SuperStream? Well, employees not nominating their own super fund are automatically registered with the default MySuper account. Employees are primarily identified by using their tax file numbers. So the tax file number system has been validated by the tax office. It's a unique identifier for tax purposes. It now becomes a unique identifier for superannuation purposes. Super funds are now identified by a unique superannuation identifier, a USI. So the previous SPIN number or SPIN that was used to identify superannuation funds is being phased out, And the USI is considered to be a superior option because it actually goes down to the granularity of particular products and offerings within super funds. And self-managed super funds are required to provide an electronic service address, an ESA, as well as their ABN. This gives a way of automating the whole process of superannuation fund contributions. So, with SuperStream, all transmissions are electronic. They're in the same format. It's mandated by the ATO, and it's automatic and efficient. With Aussiepay, we will have all of our superannuation contributions and payments fully SuperStream compliant, and we will communicate with all super funds using the SuperStream protocol. So what we can do is effectively deliver full compliance to clients without them having to do very much. But there are a few things that you'll need to do. So who is affected? In short, anyone who's involved in super. Employers, employees, self-managed super funds, payroll services, super fund administrators, and clearinghouses. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you've got 20 or more employees, then you're obliged to be using a SuperStream format from the 1st of July 2015. The new format requires employers to select a default My Super Fund. And employees not nominating a super fund are automatically registered with the default My Super Fund after 30 days. Self-managed super funds need to provide electronic service addresses. If you've got less than 20 employees, say 19 or less employees, SuperStream doesn't start for another year. So it starts on the 1st of July 2016. Having said that, you can certainly start earlier. There's no restriction on starting whenever you're ready, and it's much more efficient to do so anyway. At Aussiepay, what we'll be doing is making SuperStream available for all clients because we'll be managing that whole interface. So let's look at the checklist of the things that you need to make sure you've got covered. Have you selected a default My Super Fund? It's really important, really essential that you have one nominated and you've communicated that to us. Do you have policies regarding the allocation of default My Super Funds within 30 days? This is just your way of, even though it's a legal obligation, it's your way of covering your policies and procedures and making sure that you don't have any HR issues around that. Update your Super Choice form to include a unique super identifier, a USI. So there may be Super Choice forms on your system that are in the old format that don't really ask for a USI. It's a good idea to just download the new version so you've got that one covered. Ask employees with self-managed super funds to provide ABNs and ESAs. And if they don't have one, we can help out in that process as well. And we'll send you information about that. And ensure that the above are in place before the 30th of June, because that's when it comes into place. So SuperStream compliance with Aussiepay. Aussiepay has undertaken the software changes necessary to ensure that we're fully SuperStream compliant. That's our certificate. We've had our software tested, and we've got the protocols in place so we can turn on the SuperStream format anytime that's required, and it'll certainly be turned on before the 30th of June. Our SuperStream service is fully integrated into our payroll. Once you've provided the data, you've verified the payroll, you've authorised us to complete the payroll, everything else is just fully automated in our system. And SuperStreams will take place on the 7th of each month for those clients who have selected monthly, and on the 21st of each month, each quarter for clients who have selected a quarterly remittance. And you can choose one or the other. And we'll register new employees with the default My Super Fund where they have not chosen a fund. All SuperStream transfers are tracked, And if you have any inquiries or any issues, we'll offer a 4-hour response to any super inquiries. Once you've provided all the new employee details and approved the payroll, you don't have to engage with a whole range of fairly uneconomic tasks like loading employee super details to another site, or making payments to third parties, or tracking lost payments or contribution data, or loading new employee details to the default My Super Fund. All of that's taken care of, as is a situation if self-managed super funds don't have ESAs, then we can obtain those for you. We've got it all covered. Now, there are over 100 people on this particular webinar, so time doesn't permit us to deal with individual inquiries or queries in relation to this presentation, but a link to this presentation will be emailed to you together with supporting documents and an evaluation survey. But if you have any queries or questions in relation to SuperStream or the presentation, please email super@employgroup.com.au. Thanks for your time.